Hi, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions 24/7. I don't know if it's really, we don't answer your questions 24/7, but you can add those questions 24/7. We'd like to. We'd like to answer those. But if you have questions, of course, you can throw them into Makana. You can ask your questions, vote on them, chat with each other. But if you're not a Makana, of course, you can use the QR code that is askofficehours.global, askofficehours.global. You can ask your questions there 24/7, and then 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, we'll answer those questions. So askofficehours.global. Go ahead and throw your questions in there. Otherwise, you can use Makana. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions. Bill, what do we have?
Francis Fry in Cambridge, Massachusetts has our first one this morning. And the question is, I want to record two 4K camera feeds in sync, similar to what ATEM Mini Extreme ISO can do in 1080p. Hardware suggestions, and is eCamm the simplest software solution?
Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, it depends on your budget and your workflow as to what codec that you want to choose to edit in. The big boy right here would be the HyperDeck Studio Pro, which in the Blackmagic family, you've got $1,595 for this one. There's other ones that you can also get that'll record in 4K. So you can kind of just walk down the line. On the back of those, they do have time code in and out, so you can sync them together, and you can even have it to where when you fire off one, it'll daisy chain down below, so when the other one sees time code, it'll start recording so that they're all in sync. Cheap way would be vMix. I don't really like the codec that it records in, but if you're on a PC and you just want to get something cheap, vMix does an okay job at the highest end. To do 4K, it's not the regular $60 a month one. Actually, is it? I'll have to double check if the $60 a month one will do the 4K, but the HD one definitely will not. So you want to be careful about which version that you get. There's also Mimolive on the Mac. If you have a powerful enough Mac, you can do it there.
Go to Alex.
Yeah, so if the camera, without knowing the details of the cameras, if your cameras have HDMI, you can get a capture card and record that into various software applications. So for example, like with the HDMI Decklink Quad from Blackmagic, you can use that. And I believe with this card inside of DaVinci Resolve, you can actually record directly in there. A free, easy, one-click, one-button solution is QuickTime. You can actually go into QuickTime and select Apple ProRes. If you select the maximum quality setting, it will do ProRes 422, so that's another option.
Good, Chris?
So, DSLR video shooter guy, I don't know his name, but he put together a video called the Ultimate Video Recorder, and basically, kind of like what Guy said, he puts a bunch of the Blackmagic guys. He's got the rollover drive. He uses the switcher. He even has a mix pre. Alex, you may want to check this out. It has a mix pre in it, so it must be good. And he's got it all set up with a little remote button trigger over there on the left side. Push one button, they all start recording. So. I think you can.
Yeah, his
4K.
name's
No?
Caleb Pike, and that's an
Caleb,
HD
yeah.
solution. The question was for 4K, so those won't work. You need to
I didn't
go into
know.
these
I was going to
ones.
say I didn't know if these would, and I'm sure if you swapped it out for the ones that record 4K, you could probably do a similar thing, like you said. But it's still kind of a neat install that he did.
Yeah, we use HyperDecks for the most part, and of different sizes to do this kind of record. You definitely can use other things. There's definitely there's Key Pros. There's you have a variety of the Atomos tools. For us, the simplicity of how we set those up for the. Now, I will say that the little ones I don't really trust that much. So we've had a lot of record failures on the smaller ones. When I say lots, I mean it can still be counted on both my hands, but out of thousands of events, but still more than the SSDs. So the SSD versions are what we usually tend to stack up on. Unfortunately, a lot of the new Key Pros don't have audio inputs, and that's been really not the Key Pros. The new HyperDecks don't have the new HyperDecks that are, and I think that has to do something with the A to D converter, that whole eCamm fire. Is something, the reason they took them out. But the Pro versions that used to have, we still have those, that have the analog ins is something that I like a lot. And a lot of times when a lot of times we're recording the audio separately, and as long as everything's in 48, you record the audio separately to something else. And then what we do is we make sure that the record deck has the audio in it, and oftentimes we might put LTC in the other channel. So the right channel might be holding LTC, the left channel holds audio. And then we and then we're able to use that to sync if we need to. We don't actually depend on audio that we record in ISOs pretty much ever. We just put it in there so that we can do it. Now, the other thing to remember is if you've got two 4K cameras, most of those cameras are going to record. So you can give them a technical sync. You can, again, give them wild audio so that they're pulling one of their channels is the whatever they're hearing. And so those will allow you to resync those as well. I will say for a decade, this, time code and a lot of other things, in my opinion, matters a lot more when you are doing film work, because when we do live work, the sync time, if I have audio in each camera, if each camera is getting audio into it from the board, the time it takes me to sync those is about 10 minutes, maybe. Like if I'm drinking coffee and talking to someone on the phone, it's really like, it just takes no time. I can just see the waveforms to do that. So it's really, really, it's not that big of a deal if you've got a bunch of things. I wouldn't depend on any of these to record audio that I wanted to keep. I'd record that separately, but you can use this to pull it all back together. Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, and I'd really question why you need to do 4K. I mean, really think about the file sizes, because I did make some monster files that I'm having a challenge with moving them across the network, because you have to upgrade everything down the path. So the computer needs to be faster, your long-term storage needs to be bigger. Scooting across the network can take a lot longer. So I bought recently 5 AJ KeyPro racks for $1,400. They're from one seller on eBay with 1 terabyte of storage in them. So that's like $300 a piece. So 300 as opposed to 1,600 for one deck. So just think about your workflow and time and money, because there's a whole ecosystem there as to if you really need 4K. It could be more powerful to just buy some used KeyPros or something that somebody has upgraded to 4K and they don't need the HD stuff anymore.
Yeah, I will say that depends on who your clients are as well. We deliver a lot of our stuff in 4K to our clients, and once you're regularly delivering stuff to 4K, and if they go and work with another vendor and they deliver it in 1080p, the client will come back. You have to, there is just enough, and I think that's valid. But if you're handing this off to clients, going a little over the top is a differential factor. Next question.
Samuel Nordvik's up next from Norway. What tools do you prefer to analyze media files, to check codec information and compression settings and so forth?
Good, Bill. Someone's got an open mic.
Yeah. I use a little tool. Now, I'm on Mac, so if you're a PC person, I'm not sure this is going to work, but there's a program called Media Info I've used for probably the past 10 years, and you just drag and drop any media file on it. It's going to give you a base thing there, but if you want to get in more detail, behind the scenes, it has dozens and dozens and dozens of output reports about what exactly are the files that you've dropped on it. It's really quick. It's really simple. I've had it on my computer for 10 years. It always seems to be reasonably updated, and that's the only one I've ever needed.
Yeah, David Brady in the chat mentions Scoop this is macrobytes.com/Scoop, movie scanner for all platforms. That's tweakingforall.com. And streaming analysis, that is HLSJS.video/. It's complicated. We'll get it. It's in the chat. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, +1 on media info. That's always been my favorite.
Next question.
Paul Wallace in Austin, Texas comes up next. I want to go to my local Walmart or Best Buy in Bastrop or Austin, Texas, and get the best deal possible on the biggest LED TV available. What am I looking at here?
Nigel.
You're looking for the Black Friday sale when they are going to sell off the piece of junk with a nice sticker on it. Look, reality here is it's almost like they've made it so complicated you can't tell one range from the other. And so here's my advice when buying a TV, unless you are putting it for color correcting or in a studio or anything, pick the brand you like, pick the size you want, pick the price, and don't buy OLED. Personally, I would always buy for my own home a Samsung frame TV because I don't like a big black hole in my wall. I like it because it pops a picture in it. But you can go nuts trying to compare and contrast all these things. Go through those steps and you'll probably get something fine for your average use.
Go ahead, Guy.
Buy once, cry once. Yeah, you'll probably hang on to that TV for a long time. So I'd go OLED after going to that studio on Friday. They had a wall of about 12 55-inch Samsungs, I'd say go to Costco, which is where they bought theirs. They're about $1,200 to $1,500. I wouldn't be just looking for the best deal. I'd be looking at picture quality, and with Costco, you could return it if you don't like it. But I would definitely be looking at the OLEDs. I never seen, like, the pre-show. There was Bill Davis was on these big screens, and they had them on multiple monitors, and I was just shocked. I mean, it looks so fantastic. I'd never, because I'm looking at you guys on a teleprompter monitor that's, you know, got some dust on it, and you guys are like 4 inches. So to see you guys 55-inch OLED, it just looks spectacular. In fact, Chris, I'll send you a behind the scenes that you're also in there, and it's shocking how good it looks.
Can I get a frame grab of that?
Go ahead, Courtney.
If you're going to go to Best Buy, Hisense is their internal store brand. You can get an 85-incher for $750 right there for a Hisense UHD A7 at Best Buy. So they're on discount right now. They were $899. They were $900. Now they're only $750. Or TCL is really a good brand. They're I think the second largest manufacturer in China of LCD screens. So you can get them. It depends on whether or not you want the best out there or the cheapest for the biggest. Cheapest for biggest, Hisense or TCL.
I'll go ahead, Chris.
That explains so much, Courtney. Now I understand who buys those brands. Nigel, you're the expert in the forever what I would call the Samsung Sony debate. You didn't mention Sony. I used to be a Sony dealer. I'd sort of naturally buy Sonys. What's your view on that?
I think,
go ahead, Nigel. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Sony is probably the best quality of all the panels. But, you know, you've got to be so careful because when you line up the product ranges, like if you look at the Samsung, there's the X9s, and then there's the 8s and the 7s and the 6s. And the difference between these panels mostly is some manufacturing, but just some failure rate in the production, that they weren't a high enough quality, which is why, I can't argue with anyone at brand. If you're a Sony XR, whatever they are, user,
just
you
buy
go
what you like, yeah.
Pick the brand you want. It's an emotional decision. Then pick the size, and then everything else falls out of that.
Yeah, I think
for a couple of years I bought a couple of Samsungs, and I was like,
The Samsungs are HDR10 plus instead of Dolby Vision, and so the question is do you want a HDR solution that is managed by a company that almost only manages that, or do you want it coming from a large company who just did it to save money? So I think that, so for me, the reason I don't buy Samsungs from an HDR perspective is mostly because I just feel like they're trying to cut corners. Whereas the LGs are from a Dolby Vision perspective, the LGs are the top of the line. Generally any company that really is paying attention to that, you're looking for the Dolby IQ versions. These are, I believe, in the C4 and the G4 series. What the best deal is the TCL, in my opinion. Like that's the under $1,000, $850, $860 or something for a TCL. And then, and I have a Vizio right here, 75-inch. so it was like, I don't need this, I don't need it to be there. And I barely used it. So because of the way I ended up putting things here, but it's fine. And so you just have to decide what you're willing to. Really, the key is that at this point, between $800 for a 75 or 85-inch TV, between $850 and about $7,000, there's a TV, and the chances of you seeing the difference between all of these is pretty low. And so what you have to decide is how much you're willing to spend on a TV. It can be as little as $850, and it can be as much as $7,000. As you go up, you're going to have more color options and so on and so forth. Please ignore all the things that the TV does, because you shouldn't use any of those anyway. You should never connect your TV to the internet. So ignore all of those things, because you just want it to go. You want to set it to the most basic version of what the TV will do. Turn it into a monitor, and then put something like a whether it's a Chromecast or a Apple TV. I use a lot of Apple TVs. But you can do whatever you want on the front end, but just let the TV be a monitor for whatever your over-the-top box is. Do not use any of the things that are in the monitors. If you understand the electronics at any price, the electronics inside the TV are trash, and you'll do much better with the cheapest version of anything outside of it, and just use it as a monitor. Yeah, go to Courtney.
Yeah, the one that I pointed to was a Google TV, so it has the Android Google TV operating system built in. But like Alex said, the processors that they use to process that is doing so much double duty in processing the image for the panel itself that it really can't devote very much of its time to actually processing the streaming coming in. So get a Chromecast with Google
process
TV.
that. It could process that if it had enough processing. It's not that it has too much to process; it's that they spend so little on it. so that's the. I mean, like it's.
Well, they get so much money from all the junkware that
exactly
that is included in there. That's getting rid of that stuff is the hardest part. And the LGs that you mentioned, I think, were OLED, and he was looking for an LED. Not an OLED, cheapest OLED. The OLEDs are very pricey. So
the OLEDs are dangerous because you can burn them in and they're really expensive. But I will say that after you watch a bunch of stuff on an OLED, it's really hard to go back. Like it is so
but I tell
luscious.
The micro LED QLEDs with the quantum dot color filters and the micro LED back local area dimming is actually higher brightness and more contrast than some of the OLEDs that are out there. And they don't burn in.
Next question.
Douglas Carmichael's up next. Douglas says, Chauvet lighting, that's CHAUVET, and LED products seem to be rapidly gaining popularity. How are they in comparison to the more established brands, ETC, Martin, Robe, and so forth?
Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, so the thing about Chauvet and a lot of these types of lighting brands is they have different divisions with different products that suit different types of requirements. So, for example, with Chauvet DJ is usually the brand that a lot of people know. Those ones are not as high quality as the Chauvet professional line. So they have a whole nother line of lights that are more suitable for big productions and stuff like that. You have to be careful about the specs that they publish on those lights, because how are you using them? If you're using it for studio lighting, a lot of these lights don't have the level of high CRI and color quality that you would need in the studio for video production. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I actually use, for my own lighting here, I use the Chauvet DJ cast panels, but these were actually specifically built for the type of things that we do. And these are super cheap lights with very, very high CRI. Of course, there's many others on the market as well. But so that's one thing to keep in mind is how are you actually going to be using it? And then you got to look at the specs. The other thing, too, with these DJ lights is that because of the way they refresh the pulse width modulation, you can get a lot of flickering that you kind of have to work through and figure out shutter speed and all that sort of stuff.
Bill?
100% support everything Alexander said there. You know, I used them a good little bit back in the DJ days, and they were very cheap, very inexpensive, and they do a decent job to take out on the road to some event that you're happening. I do think they've been in business now for probably 15 years, and if they've reinvested, as I suspect they have, their high-end stuff probably is as good as anybody else's, but you will find them not in most of the installations at the professional level that you would expect. So I'd just be a little wary. But if you're looking for something temporary, yeah, they can be okay. But do pay attention to Alexander's warnings about the dimmability and the rest of those things. They're not fully 100% at the medium and low end of their line.
Yeah, anytime we've had to use lower cost lighting, we end up putting things over top of the lighting as opposed to turning it down for that reason. So you don't get that there, and we just try to avoid them altogether for on camera. I think the Chauvet stuff, is fun for home and smaller things. I have a bunch of them that I use for lip sync night at the house with a hazer. Next question.
Mike Edwards, Brooklyn, New York. Morning, everyone. What does the panel think about Tiny 11 for keeping older PCs in the production pipeline? And he's got a link there to GitHub.
Good, Jason.
I've never used Tiny 11. Typically, in the past, I've used a similar GitHub called Windows 10 Debloater, but apparently this has been archived. What I like about it is whether you're doing 10 or 11, the API calls are going to be the same. So in this case, as long as you're getting what you need from it, getting all the indexes off, then I'm sure it'll do a fine job. That said, just recognize that a computer can run for a pretty long time with an SSD in a vacuum without any network or internet connection. So that can also be pretty useful.
Good guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it. there's backdoors that could be put in. I wouldn't do anything besides what I could get from Microsoft directly and just get a legit license. Because even this morning, there was a major discovery that somebody tried to put into the official Linux release, and they got very, very, very close. That could have been like, for the world, I mean, it would have been very bad. So I'll put a link in the chat. It's a very detailed article, but they almost pulled it off. It took years for them to put this backdoor in, and this would have been root access to everything. So just be careful about those things, about third parties having your OS complete install with being able to do whatever they want.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Oh, I'm sorry that backdoor failed. I was looking forward to having my ATM spit out lots of cash. I'd worry about this Tiny 11. I've upgraded a lot of my PCs, and they seem to upgrade fine because this stripped down version, it's an older version of Windows 11, and it removes Edge. And Edge is where all the AI stuff is coming from, free access to Copilot. So you're just right off any AI on these older machines, although I have older machines that I've upgraded to the latest version, 23H2. And they install Copilot on the taskbar down there, so they seem to work fine. I wouldn't do the stripped down version because it probably won't Windows Update either. It probably won't run Windows Update either, so you can't update it to the latest version. You're stuck back with the version from about 3 years ago.
Next question.
Guy Cochran in Seattle, Washington. Why would a TD need 7 Stream Decks?
Go ahead, Alex.
So my question, guys.
Was it only 7? I thought there was so many more than 7. It seemed like there was 40 of them. So anyway,
I mean, I'm not a technical director. I guess I am in a very, very small capacity. But, I only have one 32 button Stream Deck, and I find that extremely limiting. And yes, you can create pages, but the problem is it's very nerve-wracking when you have to react really, really quickly, and you don't have the time to be paging. You need everything at your fingertips. So I imagine whoever that person was that had 7 Stream Decks, they want all that information available to them, at all times. So that's really what it's about. I'm actually about to order a second one for me, and I think for me, ideally, I need 4. So I guess you can never have too many.
Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, I'm about to order another one as well because I keep having to go to a different page for these shows that I'm doing. And one of them, the third one will be for, I need some PTZ control, being able to punch in on some things. So it's for a custom vMix setup that we have. But I looked closer at a picture of the studio Stream Decks we're at Tenacious. And they do a lot of these box looks with mix effect and super sources and macros. And so they bring in a lot of remote desks. So if you look closely at the buttons, it's different box looks. And so there's a graphic. The top right one is graphics. So that's all lower thirds. And then they have playouts. So graphics, playouts, and then a multiple of box looks that are all ready to pop. So because I do so many of those and they're so fast at them, so 4 of those are for looks, 2 of them for graphics, 1's for playout. So that, and then I don't know what the other one was on the far side. I didn't get a close enough picture to take a look. So that's 6 of them at least. I don't know what the seventh one does.
Good, Nigel.
Clearly, I have Stream Deck envy because I only have 3. I think one of the things that they talked about, which was significant, is the use of Companion. And that this wasn't just running the Stream Deck software, the base software. And I think if you had the base software, you could get away with one of the large ones and panel your way through it. But the moment you start using Companion, you start using it quite aggressively, that you don't want 3 clicks to get to a page. The 20 things you want to do, you want in front of you. So that's how it looked to me, that they very quickly, without having to go through deep pages in life, can just hit one button. The other thing I've noticed is, for me at least, I have some on my right hand and some on my left hand. And at some point, the muscle memory of the hand and the action becomes important, that I know if I want to do one thing, it's with my left and something different with my right.
Go, Jason.
I have and use 5 of them. And I think a TD is failing the minute they have to put their hands on a mouse. And to that end, that's why that many are necessary.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was working this weekend, and I'm getting very close to implementing full truck Mac and I have a space right there for a Stream Deck, right there in the lower right-hand corner. Truck Mac will be real for the Eclipse.
Is that a 15-inch IPS monitor on the side?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I love it. I love it.
And I have a 32 stream, the 32 key Stream Deck, just for my telestrator. so I can definitely see how you get a lot of them. Remember that you can get a Stream Deck on your iPads as well. iPads and iPhones, you can put virtual keys on there. The one that I'm going to be looking at a lot closer when I go to NAB this year is the kind of the bigger version of what you think with Stream Decks, which are these JL Cooper. So JL Cooper makes these kind of heavier controllers, bigger buttons. It's not quite as flexible as the Stream Deck, but big buttons that do things and lots of other things that you can control there. So I'm kind of looking at that for some of the parts of my system here. Next question.
Paul Wallace in Austin, Texas. All conspiracy theories aside, local emergency officials in areas directly in the path of totality for the upcoming solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024 are advising residents to stock up with 2 weeks' supplies by 4/1, which is today. Necessary?
Go ahead, Courtney.
No, I don't think so. Well, I don't know. I talked to my sister. She said she's expecting, that's what they're telling her on the radio, to stay off the roads and stock up on stuff. And I just looked at the weather forecast, and it's scattered thunderstorms predicted on the 8th, the 58% chance of rain. So that's in Killeen, Texas, right in the path of totality there. So I don't know if they'll even be able to see it. And remember, the eclipse is only, 2 to 4 minutes, max 1 to 4 minutes, depending upon where you are. And then after 4 minutes, it's over. It's not like Woodstock, like there's 3 days in one specific place. And it's a very long pathway. So
I think...
and remember, in before Alex gets me off, is they predicted this stuff during the Olympics in L.A., Carmageddon, they called it, had a name for it. And they said, it's going to be a disaster because all these venues are all around town. It was the best traffic ever in L.A. You could go anywhere almost instantly because everybody left town.
Yeah, while it's only 4 minutes, I can tell you when people are arriving in Dallas because I just bought tickets to Dallas. I have to go to Dallas on Wednesday just for the day. I'm going to go in on Tuesday night and get there middle of the night and leave on Wednesday night. And I can tell you that the flight on Wednesday or on Tuesday to go to Dallas is about $300 one way. The flight on Wednesday is $1,200. So everyone's, the reason that they're telling you that is that there's a bunch of people descending on that area, and they're just going to be they're going to be buying lots and lots of things, and it's going to happen for 3 or 4 days before the event, 3 or 4 days after the event. They're just, because people don't want to just come in for the day, and so it's really all those people flying in, and that the grocery stores just may not be able to keep up with the demand that's there. So I think that's what they're trying to have people, and most of our emergency services are out there to make things easier. Like they'd rather tell you that something bad is going to happen and have it not happen than not tell you. It's always better to be I'd much rather be an often surprised pessimist than the opposite. So I think that's where they're coming there. I would say that I don't think there's any time when I don't have, because I've learned how to cook with single ingredients. There's no time when I don't have 2 weeks of supply, of everything, because I can make it as long as, I can make it for a long time with raw materials. Go ahead, Bill. Not Bill, Nigel.
Hey, I lived through the Texas snowpocalypse a few years ago when half an inch of snow fell. So I'm okay with that. I noticed in my early days living in America, I used to travel town to town. And so I used to watch a lot of local news in fairly small towns. And the common thread of that local news, was really 2 things that could make you thinner and things that would kill you. And if they could find a story that had 2 of those, both of them in, they ran it, broke into program for it. And so I think we have to remember that local news is all about getting attention and getting disasters, because that's what keeps people watching.
Good, Chris.
I firmly believe that the rain in Killeen and Leakey and Waco that's being predicted is, I think the state of I think those counties are paying Apple Weather to say it's going to rain that day so people don't come there. It's too suspect. It's sunny, 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 sunny. Oh, look, rain on the eclipse day. Sunny, sunny.
Next question.
Next one comes to us from Cindy Drozden, Erie, Colorado. My Windows 11 PowerSpec desktop computer was just into MicroCenter for service. They found 248 pieces of malware. How did this happen? I have been using eset and malwarebytes to protect from that. Clearly, that didn't work. What should I be doing? And it's a QR code question.
Go ahead, Alex.
First of all, Cindy, I'm sorry that that's happened. It's really rough. I've back in the day before I started using Macs, I worked with Windows for a long time. So I used to troubleshoot this kind of stuff all the time. And it's really hard. Once this stuff gets into the computer, there's no surefire way to guarantee that it's fully removed, short of just wiping the drive and start over, which is what I always recommend, as much of a pain it is to be able to do that. These days, I find that Windows Defender, which is baked into Windows 10 and 11, does a very good job, and it's built by Microsoft, so it does not consume the amount of processor resources, and it doesn't get its hooks into the operating system like a lot of third-party apps does. So I would recommend sticking with Windows Defender. I'm not sure what you're doing on the computer, but a couple things. A lot of this stuff comes in through social engineering and through getting you to click on links. So general rule of thumb is don't ever click a link in an email or anything unless you specifically went looking for it. That's the general rule that I always tell people. And that actually helps a lot.
Jason?
When it comes to antivirus, more is not better. In fact, more is definitely worse. At least 99% of the people, 90% of the time, are going to be best with Windows Defender. I'm so sorry this happened, Cindy, and it's just a sign of the times. I guess you just have to switch to a Mac. But no, definitely reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to help you. But eset's time has passed, and Malwarebytes is great online, but the installable version is kind of useless.
Courtney.
Yeah, and you got to make sure that you get Malwarebytes and the other antivirus programs from the manufacturer of that, because there's people out there that put them on their own server and they just infect them so that it cuts off. It says it's running Malwarebytes, but it's just a fake Malwarebytes, and it's actually installing more ad servers on your machine. A lot of these 248 pieces are pups or potentially unwanted programs. That's what Malwarebytes calls them, and will quarantine them. They're basically ad servers to serve up, track you and sell your information to other people as far as serving up ads to you. They're not necessarily nefarious and will erase your machine or deliver up ransomware, but they are annoying and they take up a lot of services, so eliminate those as best you can. And if you've got a serious infection, I agree with Jason, wipe the drive and start over again. I usually try and do that every couple of years anyway, just because it accumulates so much cruft that you want to clean it up. And it'll run a lot. Windows will run a lot faster if you eliminate all the previous 22 versions that it's gone through to get where it is today. So you can do that. And I agree, the Windows Defender is probably the best way to not run Norton or what was the other one you said you were running? And if it came from MicroCenter, just be careful about what they may have installed on it. They may have put their own software on there to serve you up MicroCenter ads. So watch out there.
Go, Jason.
Yeah, one last thought. Antivirus, and I don't care what anybody says, antivirus does not prevent infection. None of them, ever. They don't.
Think hard about whether you want to surf on a PC. Like if you're not technical. If you're technical, it's fine. If you're not, if this surprised you and you jumped onto it, think about using your PCs for mission critical events and using a Mac or an iPad or something for less mission critical, and stuff that you're surfing around on, because there just isn't that much out there that infects a Mac. Next question.
Jim Brooks in New York is up next, and this is specifically for Courtney, wondering if you had a chance to test the Pyle XLR-USB signal adapter you ordered, and if so, how it worked. Thanks.
Good, Courtney.
Well, I haven't tested it yet because It's not due till tomorrow. So it will be coming in supposedly tomorrow or the next day. It's April 2nd or 3rd. So we'll see, and I'll report back on how well it works. And I'm going to hook it up to this the fake 414 AKG, which is actually the Pro AR, and we'll see if it turns this into a pretty good USB mic. So we'll see.
There you go. Quick reminder that we'll be talking about April 1st, our favorite April 1st promotions or tricks in the second hour. So if you've got some, you can put those in as questions, things that you remember as, well, that was a really good one, or that was a really bad one, or this was a huge mistake. So go ahead and throw those in. We'll talk about April 1st campaigns in the second hour. And if you have questions, you can go ahead and throw those questions in right now. You can, of course, if you're in Makana, you can ask them, you can vote on them, you can chat about them. But if you're not, of course, you can go to askofficehours.global or use that little QR code, askofficehours.global. You can ask those questions 24/7. So if you ask them anytime during the day, then we'll throw them in. Make sure that you ask one question in through the QR code or through askofficehours.global. If you stack a bunch of questions on top of each other, they don't make it to the show. Next question.
Next one comes from Alexander Knight, Port Coquitlam, BC. Here on the panel, I set up Mimolive last night and got Zoom integration working very quickly. It's a step in the right direction for me over screen scraping. Still have the orange dot because of HDMI. What is the cheapest Blackmagic Design SDI card? I don't need more than 4 ports.
Duo card. So you need the Blackmagic Duo SDI Duo card is the one that you're going to need to put out an SDI signal, which will not have the orange dot. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, and do they? I find myself often not using more than 2 guests. Do they make a cheaper 2-port SDI, or does anybody make one that would be? If you got
I think that the SE I think it's the SEL version, which is the one that we get. I think it might have 2 card slots. It might not be 1 card slot. It might have 2 card slots. So theoretically, you could have just 2 single cards. The single cards, I think, are actually pretty inexpensive. The single outputs are pretty expensive. And if it's you plus another person, but it's two guests, remote guests, right? That you're
2 remote guests, yeah.
The other thing that the other thing I've done with the orange dot is it's not very hard to paint it out. Like literally, you open up the file and you do a video clone. Just clone this to that because it's not moving, and it'll just disappear. Like just it's a very small dot. No one's going to notice, and it's pretty good to you give it a little bit of a soft clone. And because it's not moving, it won't do it. You can technically track it if you want to. So it would, if they hit something or something like that, it would do it. But I think that you would find a soft edged clone tool will remove all of that if you're willing to put the work into it. And when I say work, once you've done it a couple times, the first time will require about 10 swear words in about an hour to get it working correctly. But the next time will take only 2 swear words in about a half an hour, and the third time it will take no swear words and it'll take about 2 minutes to do it. So that's that's what it takes to actually produce those things. Go ahead, Jason.
I've always used the Duo 2, and I guess maybe it's just a force of habit. Those are what, $500, and then you get a Thunderbolt 3 port to do it externally. I didn't know that they have a smaller one other than the Thunderbolt one that I don't really trust.
Well, I'm saying you could I would just get a Sonnet Box and then put a card in it. Right. That's what I would put out there. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm going to say this: if you're worried, Alexander, that orange dot's going to annoy your audience, you might have other problems with your show. If they're looking at that, then there might be. And also, you have orange in your set. It's probably going to disappear back there. And if you'd like, I could make you a little PNG file that has extra orange dots. They'll never know which one is which.
You could also, it's not like if you're on a 1080p. Are you on a 1080p signal, Alex, or are you on a 720?
Yeah, I only have 720, but yeah, scaling up obviously is the cheap. It's not that many pixels, so it would be It would be cheaper to just scale it up a little bit.
But I think that there's a lot of. I bet you there is. I just don't know what it is because I haven't had to deal with it. But I bet you there is a AI video tool that you can just put a little square around and say remove the orange dot, and it'll just paint it in. Like the in painting now. I saw something on LinkedIn this morning while I was biking, and it was someone had just taken, they just cut the guy out. Like they rotoed him going across a bridge, or they rotoed and just infilled it, just said, get rid of the, whatever. And it just gone. Like it was just perfect, So So you may find AI video tools that will just remove the dot for you, and you don't even have to figure out how to clone. But I will tell you that I've cloned things much more complicated. Chris has cloned things much more complicated for me than an orange dot. Chris, that required a lot of swear words. Yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
Story.
Oh, what about the Decklink SDI 4K? Is that can't you configure that for I/O for $295? That's a little bit cheaper.
I don't think it'll do. I think the 4K is 4K. I don't think it does. I think the Duo. It might.
It says SD, HD, 2K, and Ultra HD.
I know, but the question is, does it split it into multiple 3Gs? It might. I don't know if it sees it that way. The Duos and the Quads are the only ones we use, and so those are the only ones I just know about. So I don't have a lot of knowledge there. It could theoretically do 2, and that would be a lot less expensive. So I think the question is, I think the reason we use the Duos and the Quads is because we can reverse the direction on the card.
Yeah,
so we can say, oh, we want
spigot to
input.
be either an input or output. Yeah. Right.
So you may be right that the 4K or there might be another Blackmagic card that's output only that could work. Go ahead, Alex.
I just want to say, coming from screen scraping, I kept on putting this off. It took me 10 minutes and I got to work. When I saw the separate ISO video feeds, I just went, oh my God. I got emotional. Like, oh my God. This is amazing.
When you see people with doing screen scraping, you're just like, you poor child. Like even if you take ISO, I have looked at you can take ISO and just put ISO on every machine that you're going to do screen scraping with, and then just have it each do one output. And that will still be the quality of it. You never have a mouse, you never have anything pop up. The quality is higher. The frame rate is better. Like it is in all ways better. Like so, there are reasons to have a single machine for every person because then you can have individual returns back to them. But you can do that. But you just put Zoom ISO on every single machine, and then you just get real outputs out of that machine instead of the whole screen scraping thing. But the screen scraping thing is it's not okay. Next question.
Next one comes to us from Zach Stallsmith in Chautauqua, New York. I think I know the answer, but I have about 100 gigabytes of video recordings that need to be transferred onto a flash drive that only has 16 to 32 gigabytes of storage. Would compressing the files help, or is there another way to get the files onto the drives?
Go ahead, Jason.
My first thought was, are you trying to split this video file into several drives, or do you need to make it smaller? Of course, you need to make it smaller if you want the entire 100 gigabytes of video into 32 gigs of storage. Even if you're splitting it, you're still going to have to re-encode. There's no way around that.
Courtney?
Yeah, it depends on how they're encoded. If they're ProRes or something, I'd be careful because you would not be able to play it back off of that flash drive probably because it doesn't have a high enough data rate. If it's 16 to 32 gigs, it's probably FAT32 and probably has a pretty slow data rate. I'd look at getting you one of those little caddies and put an NVMe drive in there and a USB to give you a high-speed USB drive, and you can hold up. You can get small ones for 512 gigabytes. Format it EXFAT if that's what you need to do for compatibility.
And Zach followed up and he said, "This is and Zach, if you put notes in, try to put them in right before we ask or when we're asking the question because I just scroll up to find it." But he said the client gave me flash drives to transfer the files to without knowing how big they were. It's no problem for me to send them via WeTransfer. I just don't want to tell the client they will receive the files differently than they expected if there's definitely wasn't another way to do this. WeTransfer would be fine. Also, really just consider just buying them another flash drive. A 128 flash drive is like $10. And so what you want to find out is if they have a PC or, do you need to do it in XFAT or do you need to do it in thing? But I would just buy them another, whatever it is, I would just buy them another flash drive. It's $12. I said 10. Yeah. It's $12 to buy a 128 gig flash drive. I would just get them a new flash drive and send it to them.
And format it as EXFAT because it's cross-platform.
If there's some file size things that get a little funny with anyway, but but I would I would just send them a new drive. It's worth the $12. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, the question is, are they going to do something with them, like edit them, or are they just going to watch them? So if they're just going to watch them, encoding them in H.264 will probably get that much space onto a standard thumb drive without a problem, and it'll look fine. That is not good if they're going to be taking this file off and doing post-processing on it, but they're just watching it.
I wouldn't downgrade one because of $12 though. Like it's a $12 fix. Like it's not even worth the time to do the compression. Like it's just, and Amazon, depending on where you live, Amazon can probably deliver it to you by 5 today. Next question.
Douglas Carmichael says, I'm finally getting my Yamaha DM3D today. Any interesting control apps to test it with? I've already purchased Mixing Station.
Go to Alex.
Well, congratulations, Douglas. That is a really cool console that's very, very hard to get right now. I haven't actually spent that much time with the console yet, but you're on the right track. Mixing Station is definitely going to be a really neat app for you. With that thing, the first thing I would do when you open up the box is I would check and make sure you also have the latest firmware, because they've done quite a few updates already. In fact, the latest one from Yamaha, they added 96 kHz sample rate. So if you're doing music production, which is really what this console is kind of marketed towards, because there's no Dugan Auto Mix yet. I don't know if that's possible with a future firmware upgrade, but do make sure you also get the latest firmware.
Good guy.
Man, you lucky dog. I was looking for one for a while, and I finally just last month found a X32 and a Dante card rack, and I bought those. But I would love it, Douglas, if you could join after hours and get the ability to share screen, and then we can all kind of play together if you don't mind, because I would love to see what that interface looks like. If you have the time, I'd love to jump in there and see what I'm missing with my X32, and if I have to now get rid of this thing and go find where... Maybe there's more where you found yours. You'll have to share where you got yours from.
Next question.
Danny Grizzle in Longview, Texas says, 1 week out from the eclipse, can we get a summary of the planned office hours coverage?
Go ahead, Bill.
We've had a bunch of meetings about this, and it should be a lot of fun. We're going to go on at 11 o'clock that morning, and we're going to follow the eclipse through its path. We have people along the way that we're going to try to touch base with. We've also got some guests that will be on the show behind the scenes who understand the astrophysics of the eclipse and the rest of that. In fact, I think someone's coming in from Australia to be on the panel with that. So it's going to be a fun traverse. We got about an hour and a half of live coverage. Alex is going to be there. I'm going to be there, and we're going to be talking you through what we've learned from all the experts as we follow it across the country. Should be fun.
Nigel?
I'm going to try and point a camera from my balcony if it's not shady. Anything I should know before I do that about my poor camera?
Are you in the totality?
I am, but right on the edge. We get 1 minute 43.
Make sure you have a windshield wiper on it. Yeah.
The main thing is that it'll kind of go across pretty. When you zoom in on the sun, you'll be surprised at how fast it moves. So you do need either a tracker for it, or you'll need to just keep on readjusting it, and it'll be a little bit of a as you kind of move across. You cannot, until you're in totality, you cannot take the filter off of the camera, or it will destroy the camera. So you need to make sure that if you're zoomed in on the sun, you need to wait until you see the final pearls disappear and you're really in totality, and then you got to take it off. You really time it and take it off before you start to get real sun again. Same thing with your sunglasses or whatever you're looking at. You can look at the totality without having sunglasses on, but you got to be all the way in, or you'll burn your eyes out.
If I leave the filter on during totality, will it just see nothing?
You'll see nothing. No, you'll see barely anything. You have to take it off during that time, but take it off for 30 seconds and take a look at it. Wait until it's safe. Take it off. Take a look. It'll be cool. What I would say is that if you're not really set up for this and you're not really ready to do it, you can play with your camera, but I would just experience it. Like, I would really, recommend not fiddling with the hardware, and I'm really bummed that I can't make it. And it's just because NAB is right after it. And I just got to a point where it wasn't gonna, I just couldn't make the turn. And I'm so bummed not to go, because it's a life-checking experience. Like, it is really, if we didn't have NAB, if we had anything other than NAB, and we didn't have like sponsors and people and things and everything else, I would be there. And it is so amazing. And so I would, just, if you can, watch it. If you're not set up with a rig and you're not practicing this week to do this and like tracking the sun and seeing what it looks like and everything else, just walk outside and watch it. Like just, don't fiddle, don't get distracted, don't be looking down. Just watch this kind of one of the most amazing natural phenomenons on Earth. And it's only on Earth, not anywhere else in the solar system does this happen. And so it is one of the most amazing things. It has changed cultures. It's built huge, erected massive things over the last 4,000 years. It is a big deal. And so you should just go watch it. Don't try to take pictures of it unless you know what you're doing. It's just too much time to do that. You really want to experience it. And if you're in totality and you are shooting it, go ahead and shoot it, but make sure that you spend at least a minute just looking at the craziness of it. There's a hole in the sky and it's perfectly black and it's just crazy. Like it is a crazy thing to experience. Go ahead, Bill.
I'm also going to say that we're going to be pushing a little bit on just making sure that safety is one of the messages we send out. Don't assume that your kids can watch it and say, watch a little bit after the sun starts peering back out. Do not do that. But this is, as Alex mentioned already, something that can permanently damage your eyesight for a long time. So do it responsibly, and that'll be one of our themes.
And as someone found out in the last one, do not use binoculars without open your open eyes. That was kind of the end. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I'm sure that Alex meant this earlier. He mentioned take off your sunglasses. He doesn't mean your Ray-Bans. He's talking about the special, filtery ones. Don't just throw on your aviators and look up at the sun. That'd be silly.
Yeah, you need it's the solar glasses that you can get for them, and these are nearly black. If you're welding glasses, I think they're 14 or above is the number that you're looking for to be safe. But the problem with the welding glasses, by the way, is they're green. So it'll be a very green experience. You really have to get ones that are built for this. Next question.
David Brady in New York City is up next. The Office Hours radio app just got a refresh. I clicked through the what to test before comprehending it. Is there a way to reread and how to report issues and so forth?
Go ahead, Nigel.
Sorry, I didn't mean to click on that. My apologies.
Go ahead, Courtney.
My question is there an Android version?
No, we're going to get it figured out on the app on iOS first. It's just hard to do two platforms at the same time. So we're focusing on getting one of them just the way we want it, and then we will make it available on Android. We're not going to never put it on Android. It's just that right now it's done on a zero budget, and Juan is doing an amazing job. And but we got to get it just right so that we're not making changes on two different platforms. Because making changes for Android means making changes for like 10 platforms. Making a change on iOS is making a change for one platform. so Android, like when you open up the Android box, you're opening up a Pandora's box of which version are you on and which phone are you on and how many, it's chaos. So we'll get it right first, and then it's easy to move over.
One question is what does the app, since I haven't had the opportunity to use the radio app, what does it bring to you that just opening up the mobile version of Makana and clicking on the IceCast item brings you?
If that's working for you, not a ton. So the app has, what the app does is it's just much more stable. You can close the app, you can close the window and put it back in your pocket and it'll keep playing. Sometimes the web version doesn't do that. So if that's working for you, then it's fine. But typically that's the problem is we originally started making it because we wanted to be able to close it, connect it to your car, that kind of thing, and have it all just work. It also has direct access to the askofficehours.global and direct access to Makana. So you can, if you could use either one of those, and those are built as two different pages inside the app. So that's really those are the real benefits of it.
So it does work with CarPlay, so that when your car is in motion, it doesn't disable.
That's correct. Yeah. So it does. I only test it very sporadically because I'm usually on the show, but I have opened it in my car in the past and it's worked. So I don't know what the new version does, but the old version has definitely done that. Next question.
Mike Edwards in Brooklyn, New York is up next. Morning, everyone. Is it possible to split the Thunderbolt coming from a Sonnet Box into multiple computers?
Go ahead, Jason.
I need to finish that sentence at the same time, and the answer is no.
No, you can't do that. And by the way, I don't know if we answered David's question from the last one. It is we are testing a better handoff between Wi-Fi and your cell because it was not working well. And then there's some logo and some typos and stuff like that got fixed. Next question.
Next one comes to us from Douglas Carmichael. Audiotonix, the pro audio parent company, is introducing an educational initiative where students can build their own DJ mixer as a school project. Thoughts? And he's got a link to it.
I think it's Audiotonix, and it is, and I think it's a great idea. So I think that hopefully we'll see more things like that. I think that it's great when brands start to think about how they step past just trying to promote what they do and really work on how do they engage with the next generation of their audience. And so I think it's a genius idea. Next question.
Danny Grizzle in Longview, Texas. AT&T has announced a major data breach impacting 7.6 million current customers and 65.4 million former customers. Online security is becoming very onerous. What will solve this problem? And he's got a link to the AP News story.
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, that's a tough one because, this is not the first time and it won't be the last time that this kind of thing happens. And it's always an unmitigated disaster when these types of breaches happen. I sincerely hope these companies are held accountable for this stuff. But what will solve it? I'm not sure there's an easy answer to that. I think starting with probably hiring really, really good hackers that are talented, that can basically just audit your entire network and systems and just beat on it constantly to find holes and fill those holes where they need to be filled. So I think that's one thing that they can do. I'm certainly not a security expert. I'm sure someone like Steve Gibson could probably comment on this a lot more, and I'll let everyone else chime in.
What I will say is that the red teams, what you're looking for, red teams happen all the time. And I have some friends that are on red teams. And I once asked them, we were sitting around drinking beer, and I asked him, I said, so who's been able to stop you? And he was like, nobody. You can always get in. And most of it, you just have to remember that most of it's social engineering. So it is not, you think that someone's hacking through something or cutting through a firewall, but it's almost always someone being lazy about where they connect, lazy on clicking yes, lazy on how they structure their passwords. It's just laziness. That's usually what causes almost every breach that we have. And so when we've been under high security situations, we're under constant attack by ourselves. And so what happens is that people are getting phished all the time internally. And so we're getting things all the time. You can actually hire a company that will do this for you. So that we have external companies that when I worked on some stuff that, was a pretty big deal, they had an external company that's constantly doing phishing attacks at us. And when you click on it, it goes, hey, that could have been a really bad thing for you. So how about you not do that again, and it reports you. And so then you have to have a conversation. Then you have to go through 2 hours of really boring PowerPoint slides with, not that ever happened to me. And so you have to go through a bunch of things as the punishment of 2 hours of watching PowerPoint slides that you can't go fast through. Super painful. And then after that, you never want to click on yes ever again. And so it's actually a pretty good way to manage that. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I think in most of these corporate breaches where they lose these $7.6 million of customer information come from IT department giving the keys to the kingdom to somebody who calls in and social engineers them. So I guess the best way to prevent this is prevent those IT professionals that are inside the company from ever talking to anyone on the phone. That way it'll prevent them from giving somebody who socially engineers them and say, "Oh, I forgot my password, and I'm so and so, picking someone's name out of the employee directory."
It's rarely. I think it's very rarely someone talking on the phone. It's generally
you'd be surprised.
Someone saying yes. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm just going to plug one more time the Clever Fox password book. If you want a nice, safe place to write down all your passwords, you get the Clever Fox password book. Once you unwrap it, it doesn't say password book on the actual book, so nobody will know what's in it. Don't trust your passwords online. Write them down.
And that's what AT&T was missing. That would have fixed it.
If not this, post it on the back of your monitor.
Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, I was doing a little research actually last night. I am an AT&T customer and kind of bummed to hear this, but my church asked me to do a little talk on Thursday about keeping people safe online. And I was like, great, I got to do this presentation now, and I'm not the expert. So I started watching some videos and digging through, and I do some of the things like using LastPass, but I'm amazed at how many people use that same password across the internet. So things like LifeLock and just protecting yourself using different email addresses. Apple's been in that ecosystem really great about using the Hide My Email, because once they get that fingerprint of who you are, there's other things, like your email address, your name, your user names that you use in forums. There's footprints, little trackable events that they can dig and find more information about you. So just be careful about what you're clicking on, how fast you're going through this stuff. If you're visiting, sketchy sites, just be ultra aware of what you're doing. And same with emails, looking at them, from senders you don't know with attachments. You just got to be a little more savvy. And the people that I'm going to be talking to are, mostly elderly folks that, they just get 200 pieces of malware on their computer. They don't know where it came from. And you're just like, how can I prevent this? So I think we're all in the same boat, but some of this stuff, it's all right. And that's...
And now we're jumping to the second hour. Welcome back to the second hour. A couple of things real quickly that question lasted a little longer than we expected it to. Tomorrow, Nick Jushishin will be starting to talk a lot more about Unreal. I just want to make sure people know that Unreal is, we're going to be talking about Zoom and Unreal. So the new Zoom plugin, Nick's been able to play with it a bit. And so he's going to be in there showing us how that actually works. We're really excited about that. Composer Andrew Edwards is going to be here Wednesday. Thursday and Friday are both about NAB. Thursday's about what we think is going to be at NAB. And Friday is going to be about what we're planning. And a lot of great work has been done so far to get ready for this. And so we'll be talking about what those details are. We're only a week out. And then a quick reminder that we have new panelist meetings on Saturday. So if you're interested in being a panelist, you can go ahead and jump into that. Let's go ahead and talk about April 1st. So and I will admit that in general, April 1st is not one of my favorite days. But I didn't feel like we should actually generally we do something that's like this on April 1st to avoid any other April 1st-nesses. And so if you've got ideas or things that you thought were really good, go ahead and throw those in. I'll play you one. Let me see if I can get this working here. I will play you one that this is from back in 1957. Let me pop this up here. Let's see if we can. Hopefully, all of this will work here. Let's see here. We'll see how we're gonna test fate and see how much we can play before we get flagged. So let's see here. We'll jump ahead a little bit. This is from the BBC.
Has had its effect in other ways as well. Most important of all, it's resulted in an exceptionally heavy spaghetti crop. The last 2 weeks of March are an anxious time for the spaghetti farmer. There's always the chance of a late frost, which, while not entirely ruining the crop, generally impairs the flavor and makes it difficult for him to obtain top prices in world markets. But now these dangers are over, and the spaghetti harvest goes forward. Spaghetti cultivation here in Switzerland is not, of course, carried out on anything like the tremendous scale of the Italian industry.
I don't think
many of you, I'm sure, will have seen pictures of the vast spaghetti plantations in the Po Valley. For the Swiss, however, it tends to be more of a family affair.
They played that out in 1957. Anyway, so Chris is still confused. He's like,
I don't think that's real. I don't think
it's real. That's the point. That's the point.
I just want to know what poor PA had to go hang all those spaghetti stamps.
I know. I thought about it a little longer. They took it. There was a lot of work there done to that.
There was ladders
to the to that one. But I think it was an excellent example of a campaign. Let us know what you think are good campaigns, and either that or this will be a really short show, and then we'll all go back to what we were doing, and that'll be the April Fool's joke. We weren't doing anything. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I just wanted to say one of my favorite things back in my growing up time in the industry, Audio Magazine and Stereo Review used to do their April issue. They always had an article by iLerpa, which I finally realized was April 1 backwards. And they had these kind of weird equipment profiles where they would build something extraordinary. I do love the sound array on the right side of the picture. And they would write up like highly complicated technical stuff in detail about this piece of gear that never really existed. And I just found it charming. And I really look forward every year to the April issue of audio because of that.
Go, Jason.
Okay, I had to look this one up. Let's see, April 1st, 1996, NPR did a story about a transcontinental Starbucks coffee pipeline, which is hysterical.
Yeah.
And, and like there were side comments like, and some lucky people are going to pipe it right into their house. And, just
that's real,
chef's
Jason.
kiss.
That's real.
My favorite one, and the reason that I always bring it up when I think of April Fools is because it's the one I think of like every time, and it's now almost 40 years old. Next year will be the 40th anniversary. Maybe we should get some people who did it on or something like this. So, Sports Illustrated did an article, and I think it might even been the cover. I'm not sure, but it did an article about Sid Finch. And so here's some of the here's not this video, but it's Sid Finch, and it was a pitcher who plays the French horn, like and the way that they like totally sold it as like a interviews and so on and so forth. But he plays the French horn, but it was all stuff like they kept on getting crazier. Like he has a boot on one foot and he's barefoot on the other, and so they show him like practicing here. Shooting here. But the big thing that they pointed out, and then I think they had it somewhere here. Like here's him with his boot. He does, of course, a lot of stuff in Tibet. Here he is in Egypt, and so they took these, all of these, and the thing they're talking about here you can see, and they got the players to play along, and the thing that the big thing here was this pitcher is crazy, but he pitches 146 miles an hour. So they're like this pitcher, and he's talking about all of the, that he's crazy and you can see, but they have all these great, there's somewhere here where he's like meditating in his, they have all these, and they had all these pictures and they're really professionally done. So that was and here you have like a little, how they found him. And they just really went to, the detail was impeccable. And as you're reading the article, like if you weren't, I was only 15 years old when I read it, but I remember reading it in Sports Illustrated and just being totally engrossed with the possibility of this crazy guy that can pitch 146 miles an hour, 147, something like that. But he can just pitch super fast. And the catcher's talking about how he's hurting their hand and all this other stuff. And what I thought was so great is at the very end, I think they said it was something like, if you look at the first word of every paragraph, we hid something for you, and it said April Fools or whatever. But you were enraptured with this idea that this picture could be so fast. Anyway, so it was good. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I always loved when Electrosonics, the regime has changed over Electrosonics, and most of the people with a really good sense of humor have retired. But they used to do a web page every year, announce some new product that was a piece of sound gear with unbelievable specs on it, and it was always their April Fool's joke. The one I remember from, I think it was last year, 7-Eleven did a new drink, the Tiny Gulp, since they have the Big Gulp. Here's a picture of it here.
So what's funny is if they made it just a little bit bigger, people would believe it. That's the funny thing. It's really, really small. And if you just made it just a little bigger, everyone would be like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. I
just checked Electrosonics website, and I don't see anything offhand that looks like an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, I think that and a lot of times you have to watch, and part of this, we have to make sure that we understand that so that the biggest problem with April Fools is that you start sharing it with your friends as if it was real. And then they go, that was not real. And so we always want to make sure that we all know that it's April 1st, early on in the day, like today. It's my mother's favorite day, I'm pretty sure that she actually thinks about this for months. And I know that someday today I'm going to get a serious call about something that's totally, it's the key is she really works on the whole, it's believable, but crazy. It's, and that you'll get sucked in somewhere. And so I like to talk about April for Fools, so it keeps it in my head so I don't get tricked. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, and I remember once, since we're geeks here, that one of the memory manufacturers announced their latest chip was a write-only memory. So think about that.
You can put it in, you can never get it out.
Infinite capacity, I tell you.
People have often said that I have write-only memory.
Hotel California brand.
Yeah. Let's go to the first note here.
The first question from today's panel is Vic Hernandez in Springfield, Missouri says, Gmail was released 20 years ago today. Do you use it? So it was launched. Gmail was launched on April 1st, 2004. They thought it was an April Fool's joke.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yes, this is not an April Fool's joke. It actually did happen on April Fool's, and it started, and their big thing, it started internally as a 10% project. Googlers can spend 10% of their time on whatever they want, and that's how Gmail was born. It's probably the most famous thing that's ever come out of it. But I use it. I use the enterprise version of it, and I think it's fantastic.
And this was posted by Peter Rosado. I guess this is 4 hours old, so if we're looking for a new best one, this is from Small Rig. So Small Rig posted this here, so you can see. This is the creativity of collapsible production car, the Smart Voyager. It looks like they went through a lot of work. I think that they're
I'd buy that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the funny thing is you could get something that you fortunately nobody can build yet. But I wonder how many things that have been April Fools that have become something else. But here you have it's kind of a nice little rig here. But that was a lot of people like, don't play with our feelings. And I think it is a real opportunity to do something that gives inside jokes to your constituency, as long as it's not close enough that they think you might actually make it. Because if it's too close, then people will believe it, and then they'll have unfulfilled expectations. They'll be like, that could be real. Go ahead, Nigel.
Yeah, Gmail fan as well. It's my my storage system for all emails. I can always go back and find it if it was sent to my Gmail. I have sort of more of a general question. As I come from a product management, product marketing background, and I've always really shied away from doing any formal real product announcements on this date. That just felt like tempting fate to me. So if you I'm still waiting for this magical new iPad. Of course, they could have released it this morning. But my sense is, as a product marketing, product management person, that is fate putting your head into the jaws of the mouth of the lion.
Yeah, I would never release anything serious on April 1st. That would be, although, again, it was pointed out that Gmail 20 years ago today was released on April 1st, and many people thought it was a joke. They thought Google was joking, it was messing with them. But it was actually released. So they're the ones that went right when everyone else goes left. But I think left is usually the right way to go, in this case. Next question. Oh, well, actually, yeah, go ahead.
David Brady, New York City, SodaStream with Scott Kelly, and he's got the link to it there. SodaStream was a real product.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I can't quite get my head around. This is from 5 years ago, and SodaStream's a lot older than that. But I'm trying to figure out. I couldn't quite gauge what the joke was because I just.
And together we developed the ultimate solution. Introducing SodaStream Me, a breakthrough space technology. Just flow your excessive CO2 into your SodaStream Me and turn your extra gas into sparkling
so you
carbonated your water
into an injector for the space station, for the ISS, because the carbon dioxide scrubber for the space station generates a lot of CO2. So.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen that one. That one is great. That is a perfect example of just this. This I think is maybe
you got a real astronaut for buy-in.
You can tell it's not real because the pictures of it on the space station, the bubbles are going up, which they wouldn't.
Yeah, they should just sit there.
Well, but the funny thing is that
don't Cheech and Chong have one of those?
But they built it. That's the best part. They built this, right?
Practical.
This was there's a practical. This isn't just a 3D. Look at it. See? I will say that's the fun of being at a company that does fabrication is that there's a lot of 3D printers. There's a lot of ways to build things, and so I mean, it's impressive that they built it, but it probably was the engine. You know, like they thought about it for a little while, and they probably built it over a week or two of whatever, but well, maybe a month or two. There's somebody that got to play with that, and they got they didn't get as many views. I was gonna this is BE. I don't know what they. Anyway, it's pretty awesome. Like that. That's a good one. Go ahead, Courtney.
Oh, I just butted in and said it already. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. No, it is. But that's an excellent example of how to do something that's really absurd, but make it fun and you potentially get a bunch of viewers. Let's go to the next one.
We get a lot of great links here. Guy Cochran has tossed in thoughts on Atomos' new Polaroid Ninja.
Here's the Polaroid Ninja here. So
I love
it. Well done, Atomos. It says nothing says modern like vintage these days, and we're tapped into the retro zeitgeist with our latest limited edition Ninja monitor recorder, affectionately dubbed Ninjoid. This natty little number looks simply sensational when paired with its quirky Polaroid host. To be totally in sync with this. With the messy, unexpected, beautifully imperfect theme of the camera, we've added a special AI-driven monitoring features that randomly mess with the on-screen image, so that you never truly know what's going on with your precious video memories. Shipping and pricing details to be announced. So this is 20 hours old. So this was this time. That's great.
Love the slug line. Shake it like a Polaroid Ninja.
You have to shake it like it's developing. Right?
Okay, well done.
They're still out there.
Go ahead. Yeah. Next one.
Chris Fenwick, Emeryville, Mix Magazine, the Yamaha NS10 speaker adjustment.
So before I mention the Yamaha, we're missing, I think, probably Courtney's favorite April Fool's joke ever of all time, and that would be the incorporation of Apple Computer 48 years ago today. It was founded on April 1st. The paperwork was filed on April 1st. So Courtney may think that's the best April Fool's.
Yeah.
The NS10 thing, I don't know if it was actually an April Fool's joke, but it should have been. But Mix Magazine did a review on various types of Kleenex to hang over the tweeter of the NS10 speakers, because Bob Clearmountain had been photographed in an interview where in the background there was an NS10 with Kleenex over it. I don't know if it was an April Fool's joke, but the Kleenex review was perfect to have been one. Very funny article, old one.
Go ahead, Courtney.
And when I had my first Macintosh, I thought it was a joke when I tried to boot into Microsoft Word, which, by the way, that Mac 512 only had a single floppy drive on it. You had to swap disks 21 times to open a single file on Microsoft Word on the Mac.
Oh, I saved some Word documents. It took me 50 swaps of the single floppy disk, 3.5-inch disk. Oh, it was crazy.
There was, I guess, Mix Magazine had another one from Mix Magazine. Is this Electrosonic actually does have something to eliminate the battery for some of their receivers, but this one was a eliminate. It is the dual battery transmitters acting as a battery eliminator by incorporating a small generator that is operated simply by shaking the unit. So the SM Shake's tiny generator uses finely wound wire coil and a powerful neodymium rare earth magnet to take advantage of the Faraday's principle of generating electricity current by passing a moving magnet through a coil. So there you go, another fun one. So let's go ahead to the next one.
Jeff Keithley, who gives himself the title today, Pizzazz, Chief Problem Solver. The absolute best April Fool's announcement was from Vizrt and NewTek a few years ago. Vizrt buys NewTek was the news. No one wanted to believe it was true.
I think people didn't want to believe it was true. I think it's been for the companies. I mean, Jeff can tell us whether he agrees that or not, but I think that both companies made out pretty well. But it wasn't funny. I mean, it just happened. So next question.
Let's see. David Brady in New York City has a campaign for us. Here's one for Chris, and he's got a long thing that leads to a Tech This April Fool's Joke travel bag.
Yeah. I have to admit that I've always wanted to like have enough time in life to design something like this. Now we're jumping to this. I'm just trying to. Oh, let's see here. Oh, is this really a I don't know if it's. Let's see. Is this really? It says April 1st.
It's labeled here as travel bag rules,
but it actually
and I
makes
hope
it. Like there you go, Chris. There's a travel bag for your
iMac.
I'm not saying no.
Yeah, exactly. See, this is a case of when it gets too close. When it gets too close to the thing, you're like, yeah, that'd be great. And they're like, let's do that. Yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
That reminds me, I always wanted to do, I subscribe to the magazine from NASA called Tech Briefs. Here's their cover page. But I always wanted to do one where they had a new product, which was a tactical underwear. It was called Tech Briefs. So you could store all of your electronics in little pockets.
little pockets for thumb drives.
Next question.
Paul Wallace, Austin, Texas, up next. I work for BPI in Austin, Texas on the Drag. I say it is the first software company to go public. True or April Fools?
No idea.
Yeah.
Next question.
Now, Alexander Knight in Port Coquitlam, BC. This 2018 Guinness Cologne hat. Oh, I got to see that. It's a YouTube link, so it's probably a video.
Hold on, no cut to it. I'm just going to turn it. Oh, condensed tantalizing Guinness.
Guinness
Smells.
Cologne.
Introducing the scent of power. The scent made of more.
So you could smell like a drunk?
Guinness cologne.
Casey Neistat
Slightly hoppy.
Did a video about WD-40 has a cologne.
WD-40? Did someone did that?
No, it's real. Casey Neistat did a video about it.
They actually have one.
There is a WD-40 cologne, and it smells like WD-40.
You could just use they said. You know what someone said is, if we just package WD-40 into a smaller bottle, people will pay 3 times as much money for it. So that's probably what it. Just spray a little. Just stay away from candles.
And your collar won't rub as much on your neck.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Alex.
Do you think that thing was entirely done in CG?
Oh yeah.
That's not hard to do in CG. So yeah, I'm sure that that would be easy to. They definitely wouldn't go through the trouble of making it in glass. I think and the reason for that is that most product shots that you see in the last decade are all CG. So if you see usually cars and product shots and everything else, no one shoots those anymore. I mean, some people do. I mean, there's a handful of things, especially if they have to move or interact with each other. But if they're spinning around like this and coming in, there's special packages and everything else that are designed for that, and they're really, really effective at both stills as well as, and they're really built for that look. I know guys that work on those, and even the stuff that you would think are that way for large, electronics manufacturers are all CG. Next question.
Samuel Nordvik in Norway says vMix launched vMix Voice that seemed to be an April Fool's joke, but actually turned out to be a real feature afterwards. And he has a YouTube link to it.
So this was I know it's still too long here, but I guess, it seems crazy. I think when they did it 4 years ago, let's see here, they're just talking about being able to do voice commands. But I actually, again, this gets into, do you want to release something on the day that you're on April Fool's? Probably not a great day to do it, but I think that Chad just sent me, I believe it was Chad sent me something of doing voice commands to cut a show. So it's in vMix. It's pretty cool. Next question.
Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. Will we ever again have a shortage caused by a TV show? And he has a link there to a 1973 Johnny Carson performance that I haven't been able to see yet.
Let's see if we can pull it up. I don't know what the shortage was.
All the shortages we have is a gasoline shortage. You know what else is disappearing from the supermarket shelves?
That was the toilet paper run.
Toilet paper shortage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's never going to happen again, is it?
Yeah.
I think that just happened last
1973, try 2020.
Yeah, right when we started this program, there was an acute shortage of all kind of paper cleaning products.
You know, there was it wasn't. I remember Archive Magazine. I used to subscribe to Archive Magazine. Basically, just takes lots of ads and they interview folks about their ad campaigns and they put them in there. And they actually literally. This is the whole thing about like when you talk about stealing, like AI stealing ideas for idea. You know, Archive Magazine literally had the dotted line to cut things out on the inside of the thing. Like this is what you do: is you cut out Archive Magazine and put it on your wall so you can think about it and think about how you might want to use that idea. But it wasn't an April Fool's joke. But I believe it was in Thailand, in Bangkok, there was a print. It was a newspaper that wanted to prove that how powerful news was, right? Like how powerful newspapers were, and to it was a big advertising ploy. And so what they did is there's certain things about beer that you never say. One is that it gets you drunk. Like beer is less filling. It tastes great. You talk about horses. You talk about other things like that, and you never talk about beer. It makes you drunk, and so which is what everybody's drinking it for the most part. And so people talk about the taste and everything else. Anyway, so this I can't find it because it happened in the 90s, early 90s, so I haven't been able to find the pictures. They were hilarious though. They printed these ads in the newspaper, and one of them I think it was called Triple X beer. And so people started. But it went completely against all of those things. And it had a guy at a bar, and he had his belt with a pillow on the back of his head, and he's just holding Triple X beer, and he's like 3 swim, it's like drink, lift, drink, hit floor, like it was just, and all of it was about how powerful this beer was, and it just. People were going to all these. They had to literally they literally created a company I believe in Bangkok to make that beer and make it really high alcohol content because people kept on coming to bars asking for it. Like that's what they wanted, and so it started off as a joke.
Triple X beer. It's 10 better than Dos Equis.
Is that?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it was like they had a whole campaign. The campaign was hilarious, and I still haven't been able to find the pictures online. But maybe someday. Next question.
Roscoe Jones in Seattle, Washington. Breaking news: Apple purchases ... And then a link.
Someone put it in there. This is really hard with the links.
Who have they purchased this time?
Let's see here. I don't think I can. I think it's saying that Apple it's in the DaVinci Resolve user group. So I'm not in that group, so I should be probably. But
Apple purchases Sony Vegas.
I think it's probably
in an attempt to take over the edit space.
I can cut to it. Yeah, it says breaking news: Apple purchases media creation company Blackmagic Design for $5.2 billion to create new media production division.
There you go. It's the hard part there is that's not completely outlandish. So
it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So that's the hard part when that one's hitting pretty close to home. Let's go to the next one.
Andy Kokendorfer, and he's got a link to the Logitech Hamster, which I just pulled up. There you go. It's the Logitech Hamster mouse, but that seems to me like it may be. I mean, I just pulled it up on Amazon, so that may be purchasable.
Well, that's from a Lexbase. That's not from Logitech. So, yeah, maybe someone made it afterwards.
Very good. Next one.
Marco de Andrade and Lacombe says, in 2013, SFU launches their Healthy Campus initiative, and he's got a YouTube link there to something.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out what the...
I'm very excited about this initiative that the university is embarking on. It's the removal of chairs from the university to create healthier environments.
We're really excited because at SFU, we really want to have our students learn healthy habits. So we really want them to stand up for their own health. Given the fact that
so they're taking away all the chairs in the entire
office.
The healthy work initiative.
So they would be standing for a 3-hour lecture. How they write their notes? I think that would be pretty
The basketball players taking tests. That is beautiful.
Well conceived.
That's great. How old is this? Is this 11 years ago? It's good. It's good. Yeah. That's a good one. Next question.
Roscoe Jones, Madison, Indiana. Have you ever covered a mouse's laser with gaffer's tape for a friend?
For a friend, no. It does sound like a good one, though.
Yeah.
It sounds like that would drive someone crazy.
Battery
for just
bad?
a
What's
while.
going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Does that work with trackpads?
Yeah. The hard part is also if you do them if you do them especially in a high stress environment, people might take it personally. That's always the other side of that. Go ahead, Courtney.
We had a joke in radio, which we would do on April 1st, that whenever a disc jockey would put on a long record to go up and use the restroom, the disc jockey from the neighboring station, usually the FM station if you're on AM, would come in there and they'd recorded a cart of a record just going and it'd run out. And they'd put that up in the monitors so when the guy comes back, he has Inagata Davida on or something, And he comes back and he hears that it's actually still playing in the middle of Inagata Davida, and he fades it down real quickly. And he goes, what the heck is going on? That was our favorite radio show.
Go ahead, Alex.
I haven't personally done it, but I have seen people do it in an office, and I will say, be careful if you're doing it to your boss. It's funny at first when, at first they reboot the computer, but then they get to a point where they're really, really annoyed, and they pick up the mouse and smash it, throw it down on the desk, and it's not fun.
The one of the things that we would do, we're getting a little past, these are more practical jokes than April Fools, but we're near the end of this list here. One of the things in the old days in Photoshop or on the Mac, you could use this thing called Res Edit, and you could change the cursor. You could just go in and just change the thing.
Trouble.
And so what we would do is we would take a screen capture of someone's desktop, and then we'd take it into Photoshop and go full screen, and then we'd set the brush to the morphing, the I don't know what the fingerprint, the little finger, but we change it to a cursor. So when you started tapping on your desktop, it would just stretch. Your desktop you'd start tapping on things and things would just start stretching. You start to try to drag things and it's all stretching. And the first time it happens to you, you really, it happened to me. And I will say, no matter how good you are, the first time it happens to you, you kind of freak out. It does feel like you're a little bit like you've taken drugs or something because it just happens so seamlessly and the cursor's there. You can't figure out what's happening because it's just full screen and it just does the thing that it's doing. So that was always a good, clean fun. Next question.
Craig McFarland in Boston, Massachusetts has another one. Sadly, the Model 121G is still on back order, and he's got a link to an O'Reilly Auto Parts thing. Oh,
O'Reilly. If you actually go to the O'Reilly and you type in that's been there for a long time. It's not April Fool's, but it's a flux capacitor, and it's got 121 gigawatts. But it's constantly not available for purchase, and it's great. Go ahead, Nigel.
When I grew up, if you did an April Fool's joke after midday, it was on you. So I don't know whether that was just a UK thing and just a my generation thing, but you had to get them all in before midday, otherwise the joke was on you. I guess that never existed here.
No, I think here is pretty much midnight. I think in the United States it's pretty much at least my mother's rules were definitely midnight to midnight. You get calls at 10 o'clock at night and be waiting for you to have your guard down, thinking it was all over. And then next thing you know, she'd be calling. Next question.
Oh, I want this one. Guy Cochran has a link to the MarkerTech telepathic intercom system.
See, but the thing is that you have to. The key is that you have to shoot a video for it. I mean, this is good, but next year this is a good one where we have video of, and then you've got to cut to a TD just going, ready camera one, ready camera two, and then you have like the TD holding onto a thing and tapping things. I think that would be
better to have the director screaming, I thought camera 3 and you took camera 1.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only $9,999, and it ships in 3 to 10 business days because I got to eat what's in the can.
Every once in a while, you wonder if they get an order and they're like, really? Really? Like they call like that's no. Or maybe they say yes and then everybody gets a party. Next question.
Craig McFarland in Boston, Massachusetts. CERN changes the name for the 70th anniversary, and there's a link there.
70th anniversary. Yeah, I have to admit.
The people who run the Hadron Collider. Super Hadron Collider.
I'm trying to grok it quickly.
They changed it to nerds. Yes.
Nerds. Network of experiments for research and development in society. Nerds.
It's almost an anagram.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. It's good. That's out today. That was just released. Next question.
Roz Humphrey in Comax, BC. Many years ago, a coworker had their keyboard keys popped out and switched around. This person was a Luddite who hated computers.
Yeah, that would do it. So moving keys around is always good. What's more fun is to redefine the keyboard in the software, like at the OS level, so that the keys are still where they are. They're just typing different things out. That you get so much more yelling when that happens, and it can be done. Next question.
Andy Kokendorfer in Vieira, Florida. Years ago at Fox, I found an app that changed a Windows desktop to look like Mac OS. With some friends, we changed many of the station's computers. The IT guy flipped out and ran around screaming about a Mac virus in the system.
Good, Nigel.
Okay. Courtney said earlier in this show, in the last hour, he went to a Mac store. Was that an April Fool's joke and I missed it?
I did not go to a Mac store. I bought a Mac from another guy. I traded him a PC because he was frustrated with the Mac. So I had a Mac 512 with no hard drive.
Didn't you say you went to an Apple store last week or something?
Oh, yeah. No, I went to the Apple store at the Grove to see how many people were using the Vision Pro.
No.
Nigel thinks that mention was a April Fool's joke.
Next question.
Next question comes from Craig McFarland in Boston, Massachusetts. And he's got a link to an article, Human Intelligence Poses Threat to AI.
Yeah, so here we go. This is the what we have here. So the Human Intelligence Poses a Threat to AI. PCBot, the global representative for artificial intelligence, has issued a dire warning saying human intelligence may one day replace AI. The outlook is grim. Humans are growing smarter every day. They are learning in schools, at their jobs, and even from each other. It's not just happening in isolated locations, but around the world. So it's good. Little return there. Next question.
And show friend Ken Jordan from Surrey in Great Britain says, Google introduced a new search feature, Google Knows, promising to deliver scents directly to your computer. Smell-o-vision is on its way.
See, this is, I think I saw this.
Most of human knowledge, images, books, videos, but we realized there was an important part of the search experience that we'd overlooked.
Our task as designers is to get our users the information they're looking for as quickly and as beautifully as possible. But until now, we couldn't always give users what they're looking for, because sometimes they're not looking at all.
My wife and I have a puppy with so much energy that we walk her 5 times a day, and she sniffs around every nook and cranny. This is how she gets information about her world.
That I think that's part of what makes this work is just and you get enough that we're going to give you a bunch of data there, and it's done with what appears to be pretty much the same production team that was doing a lot of other things there at the time. So it definitely just fits right into it. It's good. It's very good. Next question.
Oh, I want to see this one so bad. David Brady in New York City. Razer introduces the Razer Cthulhu, the ultimate gaming chair this morning.
Was it this morning? Okay. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. This is
Interruptions are annoying. Introducing the Razer Cthulhu, the ultimate gaming chair.
I love it.
Doc chair.
Okay, that's fun. Was that today? That's one day ago. So they released it on their probably in their April
their time
1st
zone.
day. Yeah, that's good. It's good. Next one.
Roscoe Jones, Madison, Indiana. Should you ever put your brand at risk, like when Volkswagen became Volkswagen in a fake press release?
I think that you have to be careful. Like this is what we were talking about. You have to be kind of careful of how close you get to the real thing, or people start to take it seriously. And this is the. Let's see if we can get this. I think this was the. Let's see if we can pop this up real quickly. Let's see here. When was this is the 20. So this was the.
No, that's right. It's the older one.
Sorry.
No,
an older one.
You're right. It's not this year. So that
no. This
what
is
you found
the
is
21.
right.
Yeah. So I think that it is a dangerous thing to tread is to get too close to the truth. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was going to say, I mentioned before on the show that parody can sometimes be that double-edged sword. We had a circumstance where for one of our clients, for PetSmart actually, back when we were doing a lot of production for them, they had decided they wanted to take two of their store directors who had won awards, bring them out. They flew them out to Arizona where we were filming, and we got them in serious Western wear. I mean, the kind of thing that looked really authentic, looked out of an Audie Murphy movie from the 50s. And we had them show back and forth things that go wrong. The problem with the video was pretty successful, very highly watched in the corporation, but because the demo of how to do it wrong was so much more entertaining than the host of the video coming back and explaining, no, you shouldn't do that, you should do it right, that we realized that after the video was distributed to the stores and ran, there was more attention paid to how to do it wrong than to do it right. And that's the double-edged sword of these kind of parodies. You can actually burn in bad behavior if you make it so much more entertaining than what you're trying to show them as the proper behavior. It's just a warning that I learned that day.
Good example of why to make the good stuff entertaining. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, the Elon Musk on April Fool's did tweet out that Tesla was going bankrupt, and remember the stock dropped prodigiously and cost a lot of people a lot of money. I also worked on the it wasn't necessarily an April, it may have launched on April Fool's, the original Energizer Bunny commercials, where it had the Energizer Bunny, this is like in '89, leaving, they had all the comparison of the bunnies with the Duracell batteries, and the Energizer kept going and going, and it leaves the soundstage. And then we created all these phony commercials of Nasatine was a nasal spray, and Phil Hendry, I think, was the star of that one. And people actually started calling to try and find the Nasatine, and there were 5 or 6, a coffee commercial that the Energizer Bunny would just drive through later on. And the agency had to purchase extra time for all the phony commercials, which were 30-second commercials that ran and had the Energizer Bunny run through it at the end. Keep going and going and going.
Good, Nigel.
I would say never, ever use your master brand in a humorous way, because while it might be funny today, it might be too close to the truth tomorrow. So I would avoid doing what VW did with my brand. I think you can do that great with sub-brands or products, but if you mess with the master brand, it'll come back to bite you. It's a bit like the advice we used to give to people that when you have publicity pictures taken, and you are someone who works in an industry where there's a lot of consumer interaction or problems, don't smile stupidly, because when the disaster happens, that'll be the only picture they can find of you.
Next question.
Next one comes from Craig McFarland in Boston, Massachusetts. 7-Eleven announces Big Bite Water, and they've got a link there to the press release.
It's hot dog sparkling water. Now, the dangerous thing here is they do say April 1st, when they say they update April 1st but it's listed as March 27th, so it's a little complicated. Like that's starting to get a little dangerous. But
I want it to be hot dog flavored, and I don't want it to be hot dog flavored.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a whole lot of I don't know what to do with that. So yeah, exactly. Well, very good. That was fun. So April 1st, typically on April 1st, we'll probably take a break here. This happened to run over the business day, so I think it seemed like a good thing to cover here. So anyway, hopefully everybody enjoyed that. And thank you so much to the producers who really made the show today, just throwing stuff in there. We had a couple on our own, but it was great to have everybody throwing stuff in there and letting us talk about it. It's kind of good fun show for the day. Thanks to the panelists, of course. We can't do this without you. Great panel today. We went really big last week, and then the next day we were really low, and I wasn't sure, but it's been last week has been fantastic. So really great work by the panel and incredible work by the folks on the back end that make this show happen every single day, 7 days a week. We really appreciate everybody's effort. Today, answering these questions or using these examples, we traveled 86,000 miles. That's 138,000 kilometers. And that is 680 million bananas for scale. All right, let's go ahead and jump into After Hours.
That was my best YouTube face, right like this.
Rutabagas for scale on the April 1st. Yeah.
I should have done something else, yeah. I should have done, plantains for scale. That is...
Banana chips for scale.
I have to do a lot of math because we're like, how much, what percentage? I think there's like 2.5 plantains per banana. I mean, I'm an imperial banana, of course, not a English banana. The English banana is much larger. Is it imperial? But why is it imperial versus metric? That's the question. Is like, why do we're not really.
Because the imperialists created metric and then switched away from imperial.
It's very confusing.
It's SAE, isn't it? Yeah, SAE.
How the king measures it is how I measure it.
How the what?
How the king measures it is how I measure it.
There you go. All right, see you, everybody.